What is going on, y'all? Robert Sykes, KetoSavage.com, coming at you with another AMA Ask Me Anything episode. This one is brought to us by Bethany, and she's got a question around cardio during a prep and cardiovascular health in general. But before we dive into that, let's roll the intro. All right, so Bethany asks, or she says, I know you keep cardio to a minimum during a prep, and you seem to view its benefits mainly in terms of the extra calorie burn. Do you ever go through phases of doing more cardio, specifically zone 2, low-intensity steady-state cardio, in order to build up aerobic base? I used to see cardio as superfluous. Can't talk right now. If you're doing proper strength training, but in learning from people like Jamieson and Attia, I've come to see huge health and longevity benefits from putting more emphasis on cardio and conditioning. My thought is that cutting phases could be paired with a focus on improving cardio capacity, while strength training and muscle building could be put on maintenance, doing minimal effective dose to maintain current levels. Bulking phases could then be used to improve muscle hypertrophy, while aerobic function is put on maintenance. Any thoughts? Great question, Bethany. And Attia, I haven't really dove too much into the work by, what was their name? Joel Jamieson, but Attia's been putting out some great content around aerobic health, aerobic capacity, making that an emphasis. And I definitely don't want to distract from the importance of having a healthy cardiovascular system in the context of me talking about treating cardio as minimum viable dose. When I talk about it as a minimum viable dose in the context of a competition prep, I am suggesting it simply shouldn't be the priority because a lot of people overdo cardio in the context of a prep when calories are dropping. When calories are dropping and you're losing body fat, it becomes much harder to preserve lean tissue. And if you're doing excessive cardio in that context, you will most certainly dive into that lean tissue, which is the last thing you want to do when you're trying to bring that full look on stage. So I don't recommend doing excessive cardio in that instance. Now, if you do not have a healthy cardiovascular base to begin with, you would absolutely benefit from titrating that cardiovascular training up to ensure that you have that base. For instance, if you're in a building phase and you're in a caloric surplus and you're trying to maximize muscle building potential and you're doing heavy sets of deep squats, for a relatively low rep range to just really focus on strength and hypertrophy, but you get gassed after 1 or 2 reps simply because you don't have the cardiovascular conditioning to do that movement well, you are most certainly sacrificing your muscle building potential. So you want to have a good cardiovascular base from a cardiovascular blood circulatory system standpoint for sure, but also so that you can train intensely with your training, with your weight training. So make that clear. When I'm in a building phase, I don't do a whole bunch of cardio, but I also don't really let myself get too heavy in a building phase. I never really exceed about 15% body fat. I'm still very capable at that body fat. I go for hikes. I don't really do much structured cardio, but I'll do a lot of outdoor activities that involve cardiovascular activity, like hiking, like working on the farm, like things that are going to tap into that. I'm not doing so much structured, Stairmaster or, things of that nature in a building phase, and I don't do a ton of it in a cutting phase because I am trying to preserve as much lean tissue as possible, but I never really deviate too far from having a cardiovascular base that is healthy to begin with. So again, if you don't have that base, then yeah, you would probably most definitely benefit from building that up first and foremost, and then kind of titrating it down as needed based off of if you're in a building phase or if you're in a cutting phase. So I would make that point clear. And a lot of people, they're not doing a lot of the additional activities like the farm work and things that I am, so they would most certainly benefit from increasing their activity, doing a steady state, low intensity style training like treadmill or steady state on the cardio, or on the Stairmaster or something of that nature. You just don't want to make that the foundational pillar of your training because you're not going to get as many benefits from that as you would from the resistance training. Now, kind of totally outside your question here, but something I do want to incorporate more of, and I think most people would benefit from, is explosive training specifically. So explosiveness is one of the things that we tend to lose first as we age. So being able to have explosive activity off of a stop, being able to jump. When people age, they're like going downstairs, they have more likelihood of falling and less ability to just simply move quickly under pressure with structure and safety. So training for explosiveness specifically could be a great benefit to anybody's training plan. An easy and effective way to do this is to simply do box jumps and things of that nature. If you get some padded boxes that you can explosively jump onto and then safely get off of, and then repeat that for a few sessions prior to a cardio session or prior to a weight training session, that would be a great way to ensure that you maintain that explosive ability as you age. So I personally, having a healthy cardiovascular base, would prioritize the weight training followed by the explosive activity, and then put the cardio training probably on the back burner. But again, I have that healthy cardiovascular base, and I don't have any issues with my blood pressure, overall circulation, and cardiovascular system. So make sure you have that titrated up or down as needed, and then make that kind of like the base that stays solid, whether you're in a building phase or cutting phase, and then focus more so on the weight training would be my personal recommendation. Great question, Bethany. You requested some chocolate malt keto bricks, so I'm going to be sending some of those your way. For anybody that doesn't know how these AMA videos work, if you submit me a well-thought-out question via the link in the description below and I use your question on an AMA video, I will send you some free bricks with the flavor of your choosing. Thank you all so very much for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time.